So it's no secret that I've only recently started doing YouTube, and apparently one of the most important things to get right is the thumbnail. However, I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to YouTube thumbnails, but I do know how to code and I do know how to make stuff with AI. So that got me thinking, how could I use AI to make my YouTube thumbnails better? Well, you might have heard that recently OpenAI announced something called GPT-4 Vision. This allows you to ask ChatGPT questions about certain images that you provide. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I put together my YouTube thumbnail reviewing app using GPT-4 Vision and Streamlit. There at the end, I'm going to show you how my new thumbnail assistant performs, and hopefully we'll answer the question, can AI help me design my YouTube thumbnails better? So let's get into it. So what you can see right now is what we are going to be building. I can upload a thumbnail using this little input here, and it'll show me a preview of what the thumbnail looks like that I've just uploaded. After that, we're going to hit this button and it will hopefully give us some feedback on our thumbnail. But before I show you how it performed, let me just show you how I put this together. Okay, so the first code block that we've got here is actually pretty straightforward. We're just going to initialize the OpenAI SDK. So I'm just going to hit play here, and we can see there's a little tick, which means that our client is loaded, our API key has been passed in, and we are ready to go. So over the next couple of blocks, what we're going to do is we're going to declare a couple of functions that we can use to process our image data as it comes in. So you can see that on this step here, we're importing from the pillow library, and we're importing the image class, and we've also imported math here too. The goal of this function is to take the image URL, create a resized version, and we don't want our image to be any wider than 512 pixels wide. The reason for that is the higher the resolution of the image that we provide, the more it's going to cost us on the OpenAI side when it comes to processing. So as you can see in this resize image function, we're just going to make it 512 pixels wide at a maximum. So to take you through it line by line, we're declaring a function called resize image, and we're passing in a single argument called the image URL. We are going to open up that image URL and create a variable called PIL image. We're then going to assert exactly what the aspect ratio of that image is. So to do that, we're going to divide the image's width by the image's height. And then what we're going to do is we're going to specify that we want the width of our image to be no larger than 512 pixels. And then we're going to calculate that target height based off of that target width that we just provided, along with the aspect ratio that we just resolved in the previous line. Once we've identified exactly what the target width and the target height is, we can actually just call the resize function on our PIL image to then create a variable called resized PIL image, and we can then pass it a tuple which has the width and the height, the width being the first argument and the height being the second argument. And then at the end of our resize image function, we're just going to return that resized PIL image. Now for a little bit of context, when you do provide the OpenAI assistant with the prompt and the image, you can either pass it along the image URL on a server somewhere, or you can actually pass it a base64 URL. What we're going to do in this tutorial is we're going down the base64 URL route, because it effectively means that we can avoid having to store our images on a server somewhere. We can just get around all of that, and because we're dealing with fairly small images, we don't need to worry too much about the size of the URL. We're going to be declaring a function called convert image to base64, and we're going to pass in that PIL image, hopefully the PIL image that we actually just created in that previous function. Next, we are going to create an image data variable by calling the bytes.io constructor here. Following that, we're going to call the save function on the PIL image that we actually passed to this function here, and we're going to provide the image data buffer that we actually just created in the previous line, and we're going to specify that the image type is PNG. Finally, we're going to call the B64 encode function on the base64 library, and we're going to pass it that image data that we just created in the previous step, and then we're going to then decode that to a UTF-8 string, which can then be saved into a variable called base64 string, and then we can then return that base64 string from the function that we are currently declaring. So in this next step here, we're going to go ahead and call the resize image function, and we're going to pass it in a thumbnail which is actually in the same direction as this Jupyter notebook, and it's called test thumbnail 1, and then we're just going to save it into a variable called resize image, and finally we're just going to log the resized image to the output. So I'm just going to hit play here, Next, let's scroll down, and what we're going to do is we're going to take that resized image and we're going to convert it to a base64 URL. So in this first step here, we are going to call the convert image to base64 function, which we actually just declared a few steps ago. We are going to pass it the resized image that we actually just created in the previous step. And then we are going to then create our base64 URL using the base64 string data that was returned from this function. And then in the last step here, what we're going to do is we're just going to log the first 100 characters to verify that we are getting a valid base64 URL out. Now, we're expecting that to be a very, very long URL, which is why we are just going to log the first 100 characters here. So I'm just going to hit play, and as you can see, that's coming through okay. This is looking like a base64 formatted string, so that's all working as expected. So we've successfully resized our image and converted it into a base64 URL that we can now pass up to the OpenAI API along with a prompt. So that's what we're going to do in our final step here. What I'm doing is calling that client that we created at the very top. We're going to call client.chat completions and create. We're going to pass in a parameter called model, and we're going to pass in GPT-4 Vision preview, and we're also going to pass an array of messages. However, we're just going to pass one message for the time being. So we just have one object inside of our messages array. We can see that we specified that the role type is user, and then we have an array of content here. The first item is going to be a text item, and this is basically going to be the prompt that we are going to give it alongside our image. What I've written here for our prompt is this image is a YouTube thumbnail. What design element should I change to encourage more people to click it? Please give me direct feedback on the image I provided rather than general feedback. So what I'm asking for is I don't want to generally know what makes a good YouTube thumbnail. I want you to tell me specifically what about this YouTube thumbnail I need to change. The other item in that content array is going to be an image URL. So if I scroll down a little bit here, we can see the type is specified to image URL, and the image URL is provided as the base64 URL that we created in the previous step. And then the last argument that we're providing is an argument called max tokens, which is just saying that I would like to limit the number of output tokens to around 600, just because I don't want the response to go on for too long. With that response that we save our output as, we then just grab the first choice results from there, and then grab the message.content string from within that choice. So now if I hit play, this should now actually give us feedback on the image. And just before I hit that play button, I'm going to take you back to the web app that I showed you at the beginning to show you the final result. So as you can see here, I provided my OpenAI assistance retrieval thumbnail, and now we can see what kind of feedback GPT-4 has for us. So the YouTube thumbnail provided does a good job of capturing attention through the use of vibrant colors. However, there are a few design elements that you might want to consider adjusting to potentially increase click-through rates. So we've got text legibility. Retrieval is bold and highly visible, but OpenAI assistance could have improved legibility, which I do agree. OpenAI assistance is definitely smaller than retrieval, so yep, I agree with that. We've got text hierarchy. Make sure the most important informational keywords are prominent. If retrieval is the main topic, then its current size works well. However, OpenAI assistance is equally more important. Then you might want to balance the size difference. Now, I did want to pull people in because of the word retrieval, less so on the OpenAI assistance side of things. So actually, this feedback, while it is in my eyes totally valid, I did want retrieval to be the main topic, so that's all good. Color scheme, magenta is eye-catching, but you need to make sure it complements the other colors. Yeah, to be fair, I haven't really given that too much consideration. I guess the green doesn't really go with it too well, so I could definitely improve the color palettes there. The facial expression, while the expressive face is engaging, ensure that it fits the content of the video. If the expression fits the context, it's apt. Otherwise, consider a different expression that aligns with the video's middle topic. So now, on this one, actually, this is a note for approval, because I am thinking, and I've got like a quizzical face, when really, because it's more of an instructional video, I should probably be giving more of a aha kind of face or something along those lines. So that's really good feedback. Background complexity, it adds context but can make the thumbnail too busy. And then we've got logo and branding. The OpenAI logo is visible, but consider its placement and size relative to the overall message you wish to convey. In summary, this is worked excellently. I am over the moon with that as a response, and I'm definitely keen to basically keep on feeding OpenAI my thumbnails just to see what kind of responses I get. And with that, that's basically everything that I wanted to cover in this video. If you have any more ideas for anything else that you'd like to see on this channel, then please let me know in the comments, but otherwise I will hopefully see you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching.